I'm all about the good vibes, the good vibes. We bout to have a good time, a good time. Leave my problems all behind, all behind. We living out the good life, yeah. I ain't gotta worry about a thing. Oh no. Had some obstacles I overcame. Oh yeah. You don't have to ever be the same. Oh Lord. Cause when we change the mind, we change the game. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tony Clutch with another episode on the Clutchvision podcast, episode number 20. Yes, we are back here once again. It's going down. I got a special guest, on the podcast today. One of my good friends, my brothers, you know what I'm saying, from another mother, you know what I'm saying, from the East Coast, even though he living on the West Coast. My boy B-Boy, Why Not Rocksteady crew in the building. What's going on, dog?
Yes, sir. Thanks, man. It's good to hear your voice, Kenny.
Man, you too, man. Appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited about this. And I didn't know that was episode 20 in 2020, so that means
episode
something.
20, dope. Episode 20 in 2020, man. You know what I'm
Right?
saying? We about to lay it down for them, man. So this is now it's extra special because you said that.
That's right. No pressure.
So we're gonna deliver, man. Listen, everybody that is watching this podcast, you might see it a little bit different from normally I'm on the couch, but today we got Why Not here, via Zoom call, and we going in. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment below. If this podcast touched your soul, touched your spirit, share it with somebody. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. We're going to get into some hip hop. We're going to get into some personal stuff that's probably going to help you guys, and we pray it's going to help you guys get to that next level in your life and move forward, man. You know what I mean? So why not, man? What's good, man? What's been going on? Tell us what's been happening. I know you've been traveling around the world, so give us some insight on what's been going on with that.
Actually, some of that has come to a halt, unfortunately, because of the coronavirus situation.
Oh, wow.
I actually had a few trips canceled this month and next month because China is just putting out all through Asia a halt on travel. So I was supposed to go to Singapore next month, and I'm not going now. The whole event was canceled, and they're trying to postpone it or possibly, maybe not do it until next year, man. It's kind of crazy right now, man. What's happening?
Yeah.
And I think just people are real concerned. Anything that's a gathering of a lot of people in one small space is of a concern to them. So yeah, they're just putting out warnings for all of that, and they're canceling all types of events that deal with large groups of people. So
wow, man.
It's a little crazy. Other than that, though, I have been doing some travels as usual. I just got back from Brazil not too long ago. That was a great trip. It's my first time there actually this time. Yeah. So it was good to connect with like a different community because, I've been a lot of places usually numerous times and I know the people. So to any chance I get to like go to a different place, I'm really excited about that, So I went to Brazil. And then next week, actually, I'm coming out towards your way to go to Princeton University to teach. I have a couple classes out there at Princeton. So
we gotta stop and grab some coffee then, bro.
Oh, you know it. You already know.
That's what's up,
definitely.
Man. So real quick, let's take the people back and we're gonna bring them up to speed. So, tell the people where you from, and how you got started in dance. For those that don't know, Why Not is president of Rocksteady Crew, correct?
Senior vice president of Rocksteady.
Senior vice president of Rocksteady Crew, which is one of the most iconic dance companies, crews in hip hop today. And we talking about hip hop as a whole, not just in dance. We talking about hip hop as a whole. So, give us some background, man. You came up in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. I got introduced to hip hop dance, I'd say probably around 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would, if I could remember exactly how everything went, I could say by 95, I was fully involved,
Right.
it's you know, you start to see certain things, and then you draw connections, and then next thing you know, you're involved, you're a part of the community, you know. And I think in the beginning I was just like witnessing things, and I wasn't really sure what was going on, you know, because I was young also. I was about 12, 13 years old, so I'm looking around like, okay, this is cool, I see what people are doing, you know. And it was prevalent, man. I grew up in I was born in Passaic, New Jersey, and you know, there was a lot of people in my neighborhood. We eventually moved to Clifton, New Jersey also. In Clifton, there was like people who used to break basically in the 80s, you know. If I met anybody that was like at least a decade older than me, they're like, oh, we used to do that, you know, back in the day. So you would just run into people. If you were dancing, they would come up to you probably or say something like that. They're like, oh, I used to break back then, whatever. And they would just give me a little bit of information and say, hey, if you really want to do it, go to New York. You got to go to the Bronx. You got to go to the Bronx. That's all I kept hearing, Bronx.
You gotta go there.
Yeah. So, you know, eventually as I started learning, I started meeting more people. And I think that's really where the journey begins. It's with community. So the minute you start meeting one person, you meet another. Next thing you know, like I said, you're involved. And then, you know, it's from those people that you start to meet others. And then this whole underground thing becomes part of your life, you know, which I can definitely say that's how it went for me. And that was it, man. I started traveling to New York to find out what was going on. I went to the Bronx when I was really young, man, about 15, 16 years old, just trying to get involved. Went to the Hunts Point Community Center. That's where I met Crazy Legs. That's where I saw the whole scene basically just unravel in front of me, man. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is hip hop, you know?
Facts. And for those that don't know who Crazy Legs is, if you've ever seen the movie Beach Street, he was the dude that took his Adidas off in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In the battle scene, yeah.
In the battle scene, doing the backspins. You know, that's the man right there. And you probably
he is also the guy. If anybody has seen Flashdance, he doubles also for Jessica Biel when she does a backspin at the end of the movie. That's him doing the backspin, wearing a wig and a leotard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yo, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, man. Crazy Legs he's been in a ton of you know, movies and videos. Been around the scene forever and is one of our, you know, iconic figures in hip hop today.
Absolutely.
And he's doing big shout out to him or whatever. And now you guys have Puerto Rock Steady.
That's right.
Down in Puerto Rico, right? Yeah,
so that's just something that we've been doing these past 6 years. It basically was after the hurricane, we started to, you know, develop kind of like a relief effort type program where it was basically the idea behind it was party for a purpose. We were just trying to bring money to the island. Of course, because Legs is Puerto Rican, right? He's of Puerto Rican descent. So he's, you know, feeling more connected as he's getting older now to the motherland, basically. And he wants to help out any way possible, especially with what's going on now, because they're having a lot of trouble with natural disaster. So, you know, the event helps with that. It also brings awareness, but then we also are partnering with companies like Waves for Water, for example, who build these filtration systems so that we bring them to the actual homes, and then they're able to filter water so they can have drinking water at least while they're going through whatever they need to go through there, man. So it's a lot. It's a big step in his life, I think, right now, what he's doing. And it's something that for him is probably one of the biggest things he's ever done. And this is a guy who, you know, has done films like you just mentioned. He's traveled the world, but he says himself that this is probably the biggest thing he's ever done in his life, which is basically just put everything down and help people and just show up ready to go, you know. So
I mean, when it boils all down to it, like that's what it's really about. Like I mean, just life in general, you know what I'm saying? Like helping people and serving people on a completely different level, and taking our gifts and talents that we have and putting that to good use, not just for, you know, selfish need or greed. I feel like that's one of the illest things that you could actually do while you're here. Like,
For sure.
I mean, a personal goal for me is, especially with everything that's going on with our family and what we've seen happen when we took it to a level of, okay, let's, use our story to help people versus, the some people, whatever, just don't see it. They probably wouldn't see it the way that we seen it. We took it as an opportunity, and because it was a challenge for us to be like, no, we're not going to like just lay down. We have a gift. We have our son, we have our family, and we're going to continue to prosper to the next level. But at the same time, let's see if we can help some people with this, because we're strong enough to get over it. You know what I mean? And some people are just not strong enough to get over it. What do you say to that?
Also know that you're not alone, I think. And that's one of the main things. I think people also, just the way things are structured. So if I could rewind just a bit, like, what I feel sometimes, especially if you're a part of a community, for example, right? Communities is what really builds things, right? It's what builds, even, for example, hip hop, if we got to go back to hip hop even. But in the way that things are meant to, I guess, work in this capitalistic society, it's like, we give a credit to like one person, for example,
right?
When it's really a community that build even that one person up to be who they are. And it's like, we're giving all this credit, all this respect, and then, this is the person now that maybe gains most in terms of financially and resources and opportunity. But I think then it would behoove that person to turn around and say, okay, if you're going to put me forward, how can I now bring people with me? And I think we have to be smart in ways and knowing and aware of how our structures are set up, to know that the ones that are put forward are the ones that can help the most,
right,
in a lot of ways. And I think it's up to them to make that decision. But it would be nice if they were aware of that,
right.
And then the ones that are in need of help also just should know that, also don't look to those people who are in the front lines to actually do something. It's not really up to us to tell them what to do, at the same time. So, but know that there's people around you that also are of help to you, that can help you. And the more that you voice that you need help, I think sometimes we're prideful. Sometimes we get in our own way, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, but when you have some sort of issue, man, just speak about it, talk to your friends about it. Let people know what's going on with you. You'll never know who'll be there.
Right. Bill Gates, there's this quote by Bill Gates. He says, if you're born poor, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
But if you die poor, that's your fault.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I look at that as we live life, the resources are available to us once we are born. It's only our fault if we continue to be lazy enough to not go out and seek those resources to do what it is that we need to do. But on the flip side, you also have people that they live in this bubble, or they just really don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like they let me put it to you this way. Maybe they just don't have the drive, and they're looking for the drive, but they don't know exactly where to look to even turn the key to even drive the car.
Yeah.
In your experiences in life, what's driven you to being who you are, where you are now, and how do you translate that to the person that's looking for drive and they just don't have a clue?
I think there's just a particular trait that I've always had, which is just to be curious. That's always driven me to move forward. I've always been curious. I've always wanted to know how things work and why are things the way they are. Just it all goes along with the name that I gave myself, basically. You know, why not is about. It's like, you know, can this be possible? Yes, why not? You know, are we going to do this? Why not? You know, it's almost like a question, but yet this statement you can make at the same time. And it all goes with the curiosity that I've had, because what I realize is as I ask more questions, I start to learn a bit more, right? And when I learn more, I realize that anything is possible. It all is a matter of how, you know. And I think sometimes that's the thing that may hold someone back is knowledge, is just simply knowing that this is possible or something is possible. And then drive sometimes, man, I think a lot of that has to do with many things, man. It's a mental thing for sure, but I also believe that that's affected by physical in a lot of ways as well, right? So the reason why I choose dance so much when I'm, you know, approaching any type of thing that I'm doing is because the idea of getting up and moving physically is something that does something to your brain. Not only that, that's a drive already, just to stand up, you know. You know,
right.
just to get up. And the great thing about being involved in something physical is that it makes you think twice about that thing that you're about to eat. Makes you think twice about what you put in your body, right? It makes you think twice about, okay, you know, I'm gonna sacrifice this so I can maybe get some more sleep tonight, or whatever I need, because I need to be on point, right? And it's those things that start to then shape your mentality, that gets you out of that laziness, or maybe that, you know, thing where you're like, I just can't get out of bed today and I'm not feeling good, you know. It gives you a purpose too. You're wanting to be better at this thing, so you constantly strive. You constantly are getting up and doing this thing. So yes, man, dance is powerful, and I think that's what's ultimately helped me. You know, it's that curiosity and the ability to want to do this dance and to be involved with this culture like that. You know.
Yeah. So now you're to like, you've got 20 plus years in this game, you know what I'm saying? And now you've seen pretty much almost every type of dancer. I'm not going to categorize b-boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, I look at us as street dancers, period. You know what I'm saying? So you've seen pretty much every type of street dancer that there is to come across up to this point until something new comes out.
Right.
The one thing that I see that many dancers, I don't want to say fail, but may get stuck in the mud at, is they don't know exactly what's next once they enter a new level of their dance style. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do they make this the thing? Like, how do they make a living off of it? How do they, what is their next? Like, I see many dancers in there, they're either doing like a trillion competitions, and it's like you're investing money into something. Although I'm not saying competitions are a bad thing, but too much of something is too much of something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What do you say to the dancer that is coming up so that they don't fall into that trap of compete, and create that brand of who you are, so that you are worth, you know, more than just continuously investing into something with no ROI?
Right. I think for a dancer, it's important to first of all try to get an idea of what's out there in terms of a lane, right? What, like, for example, and I could speak for both of us, I'd say when we got hip to theater, you know, I don't think that was an avenue for me when I first started breaking. It's something that revealed itself to me much later, you know. And it was something I needed to learn about. I didn't necessarily feel comfortable doing that at first, you know. And now I'm seeing the importance of it, for example, So already that has carved out a whole new space for a dancer like myself.
Right.
You know, I'm not competing in the theater, right, so to speak. I'm now moving differently. I'm creating ways to move that are theatrical and entertaining, and I can tell a story, a deeper story, right? So that's one pathway. Health and fitness is another, right? We just kind of spoke about that too.
Right.
What the benefits of dance are. So I never really seen someone go too far in that route, especially as a B-boy or a B-girl, about health and fitness. I mean, I think that's a huge part of what we do, and
Absolutely. Right.
and it's something that could be beneficial even to someone who doesn't really want to do this professionally. You
Right.
know, I know a lot of people that play ball, for example. They're not trying to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, but it's something that gets them moving. Like I said before, like it's something that they're doing as a physical activity outside of the work, maybe that they already do as a 9 to 5. You know,
Right.
dance could be that. Breaking can be that for somebody, for sure. I know people already now that are involved in that. So yeah, just looking at all the possibilities outside of just battling alone, right? Because we get sold on that so much, like that's the only thing we have.
Yeah.
Other option would be education, right? The education route. Now that's something I've been tackling these past few years,
Right.
because what I realized in the American school system is that what they call urban dance, is not fully recognized, you know. And we have been teaching in the American school systems ballet and contemporary dance for years. And there is an American art form that we can at least date back, you know, to the 20s,
Right.
you know, that has been developing. And one of them is hip hop,
Yeah.
you know, for sure.
Heavy.
And I think this generation sees a lot of it through social media. They're interested in it. Can they go to school for it? Not necessarily, because the dance programs in school aren't really based around urban dance styles.
Right.
So I'm hoping that becomes a thing, because that is also another lane, I would say, for people to get involved in. And it's also something that I think historically is important for Black and Latinx communities, as well as just for American history of dance. You know, I think it needs to be implemented in higher ed. So
Absolutely.
that's just some ideas, you know, that I can put out there off the top of my head.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So just to recap, you know what I'm saying? It's not for dancers that are coming up. It's not just the competition aspect of things. Like, explore everything, ask everything. I mean, we came up in an era where there was no YouTube, there was no, you know, we didn't have no iPhones or nothing like that.
Right,
You know
right, right.
Like, you know, we just had me, and that was
That was it, right?
You know what I'm saying? Go to the club and figure it out.
Right.
And now, like, and this is just not just dancers, this is everyone in general, just from a, like, I feel like people just need to figure out and take time to, you know what your purpose is in life.
100%.
And really have a sit down with yourself on what it is that you want to do. I was speaking at a school a couple weeks ago, and I was speaking to the 9th and 10th graders. Now, I already knew the answer was I don't know, but the goal was to plant the seed and ask them the question.
Nice.
What do you want to do in your life? And automatically, everybody, you know, some people were just like, I don't know. Okay. Well, what do you like to do? You know what I'm saying? Next seed. You know, well, this one girl says, I like acting. Okay. You know what I'm saying? At least we got something on the board. Right. You're like, what, 14, 15 years old. Clearly, by the time you're 20, that mean acting may change.
It might change.
Or it might change, or it might not be, right?
Right.
My point is that what do you think about us as leaders now, being that we have this knowledge? I mean, at the end of the day, we must pass it on, right?
Yes.
And we should be the ones asking those questions to them to plant those seeds.
Yes.
So what's your take on that? Like,
I would also, because you wanna kind of like, um, pick at what it is, right? For example, like when you're a dancer, you know what you want to do. You want to dance. Okay, cool. Now, I think it's also important to share that some of these things could be a part of your life and not the whole.
Right.
And I think that's where people sometimes struggle with things like it seems like nowadays, if your hobby is not making you money, you're wasting your time.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like, are you though? Like, what are
Right.
you really doing? What are you learning, for example, from dance that you probably can't get anywhere else? Is
Mm-hmm.
it beneficial to you, and in what ways? You have to really sit with that and
Right.
figure that out for yourself.
Or
Mm.
I'll say, not to cut you off, but what if some people, because you said, their passion could not be the entire life, but part of their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you say to the person that is getting good at the wrong thing?
Like what you think they're not going to be doing for their life?
Like as in, okay, you master this thing,
Yeah.
right? And then what if that wasn't really the calling? What if that really wasn't your purpose?
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
That's a stepping stone.
Right.
I just think when we get to a level of mastery, we think that's it then, right? What else is there to do at this point? I've
Right.
mastered it.
Right.
And maybe that does now mean move on to something else.
Hmm.
you know
But then you have those people that are afraid to move.
they are. Oh yeah, because they now it's like teaching, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right?
Right.
And that's basically because they're old. they, when they were
Right.
young, they were willing to do whatever to learn
And
the
all the
craft.
energy in the world. Right.
Yep. And now they're older, they're like, I need to get this tomorrow, otherwise I'm wasting my time. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's what it is. They then have to prepare themselves for that journey again. And if you're not prepared and you get frustrated, and then you're not ready. You're not ready to move on to something else. So yeah, a lot of that, I think a lot of it is just being aware of those things. And it's hard to be aware of those things when you're not speaking to someone who's been through that, when you're not um, uh, part of a mentorship, which I think is extremely important.
Right.
You
Right.
need to talk to people who do the things that you're interested in to get some type of foresight, so okay, right now is the stage. I get it. Okay, so this is going to pass. Not everybody can think that way sometimes. So it's like they need to have a
Mhm.
conversation with someone who does.
Right.
And then that way it'll put them at ease, and they're like, okay, I see. So in a couple of years, I'll be able to, you know,
Right.
reach this goal that I'm trying to
Yeah.
make in one day, knowing that I can't make it in one
Right.
day.
Right.
you
And
know,
many people, but at the same time, many people are very, what do you call it, impatient with the process.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, we love the result, but we hate the process. And
Hmm.
it's like, why do I have to go through all of this? Why can't I just
Yeah.
get this orange off the tree and eat it? But you got to
Yeah.
go through, hell and high water to
Right.
go get it.
Right.
I feel like in that sense, people, they get scared, and then they get lazy,
Right.
because they don't want to take that journey. But then again, it's like, isn't this about, what is life really all about?
Life's a journey itself. That's the best way to relate it to them. You
Mhm.
know, because if you're not enjoying the process, then what is the product?
Right.
And a
Right.
lot of ways too, all we do is see product. We don't get to see people's processes. And I think
Right.
that's why we're so like, I need to get to this end point, this end
Mm.
result. But
Mm-hmm.
why? Like, if anything, the most valuable part should be the process. How do
Right.
you get them to be okay with that?
Right.
Right? You got
Right.
to get them to see that. You have to get them to vision that, because your life is the same thing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
It's like, for me, I dreaded taking the SAT.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
knew I had to take it in order to graduate. Like it
Right.
was a requirement. Like there's no
It's
way to
inevitable.
get out. Yeah,
It's
you gotta
like
take it.
taxes. You
Right.
gotta do it.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta, yeah,
Right.
like the taxes. Like for those that's doing like it's tax season, y'all better get them taxes in.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Get them returns. But it's like I watch people a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yo, man, I really want to help them, you know, so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I was put, you know, or given the challenge with our son, me and my wife. Uh, like I don't think anything happens for like no reason. I think there's a reason for everything, right?
Yeah.
And when my son was diagnosed with cancer, it was on some, yo, this is about to be a journey, bro. Like
Yep.
this is about to be, this is not going to be no cakewalk. It's not like cancer's not just going to go away tomorrow.
Right.
And not only that, although he was infected by it, but so were we as people, you know what I'm saying, as his family, and not me as his father. And what does that do to, you know, the rest of my family? What is the process of, you know, to get through to the journey or whatever, to see the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the beginning of our conversation, you got work that was canceled because of a virus.
Right.
Now it's like you had this money, you know, kind of like accounted for in a sense, and now it kind of redirects you. You got to take a detour to do other things, right?
Right. Right.
So, and I'm sure like you've had events canceled before and stuff like that, and you had to navigate. To the person that hits that bump in the road, to that person that hits the bump in the road and doesn't know how to navigate, what type of encouragement can you give that person on how to get to that next level on, you know, take this detour and it's going to be okay?
Right. Well, you know, when you sit there with the issue, you're basically parked right on the bump of the road.
Mm. Mm.
You know,
Right.
you're like, okay, are you gonna roll over this, or are you just gonna sit right there? You know, like, so you have to think about that. And again, if you look at this whole thing as a journey, you know, this is a bump.
Right.
I still got this whole road ahead of me I need to go, and I'm definitely going in that direction. It's not like I'm gonna reverse this car right now. I can't.
Right.
So you're gonna sit here on this bump, or you're gonna keep going, you
Right.
know? And a lot of times, yeah, okay, not saying that, you know, we're, you know, unemotional creatures. We are.
Oh
Like
my
the
goodness.
human condition comes
Right.
in right away, right?
Right.
The minute it hits you, you're like, oh man, okay, all right, not making this money, so what am I gonna do next? All right, okay. You know,
Right.
you go into survival mode, so to speak. Um, but that's good. You should already be looking forward, because that's not changing for sure. You know that. Can't harp on that. Can't think about it no more, you know, because now it's about what's next. Negative and positive things happen all the time, you
Facts.
know. Now, are you going to sit there with the negative, or are you going to turn that into something that's more positive, which is basically saying, okay, that happened,
Right.
you know, just like when something good happens, boom, it happened.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because that could start to get to you too, when you sit in one good space for a super long time, where all you're doing is talking about this one great thing that happened to you, and now you're going to relate everything to that.
Right.
That's dangerous too.
It's
You
dangerous.
always got to be going forward, man. Just know that the journey is good and bad, and you know, those come and go.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know,
And
so
like
always
you're
look
saying,
forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Yep.
you're saying, like we get emotional.
Hmm. And that's
Sometimes
natural.
it's natural, yeah. But sometimes we let our emotions ruin our success
100%.
because we get so emotional and caught up in the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many dancers have just got caught up in the thing, like you didn't get that job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Immediately goes to Facebook and starts letting out all the emotions, you know what I mean?
Right, let them out. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, like they pick da 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 da, and I'm trained in this and I'm trained in that. Like, yo, calm down, B.
Right,
like,
right, exactly.
You have everybody on the earth at this point has a platform. I don't care who you are.
Right.
You have access, unless you live like in a third world country where there is absolutely no cellular, devices anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you live in the jungle, bro, like you got an opportunity in front of you. You know what I'm saying? But we live in a world where, I'm just gonna say it, we get salty if we don't get what we want, or if this person gets to that next level before
and we don't.
You know what I'm saying? We don't. We're not comfortable with the fact that, okay, maybe this just wasn't for me.
No, yeah. When do you come to that realization, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you say to how do you encourage the people that they feel like they're failing over and over and over again?
Sit in silence for a bit, That's and that's even going back to like when you just encounter something negative, why did that happen? How did it happen? And figure out how it could be avoided next time. But then, like, let's say, for example, you want to get this job, right? And you're just not getting a job. You keep applying, you're not getting a job. Someone else is getting it. Someone supposedly is more qualified than you are. You're not getting a job. You're not getting a job. At some point, you might have to sit down and say, maybe this job is not for me.
Right.
That it is possible that you cannot get everything you want. You also may not hit every target you aim at. So you have to eventually come to grips with yourself and say, okay, maybe this is my time now to leave this alone, because I've tried, and that's it.
It. Right.
Right. Yeah. And that happens to everyone, even the successful ones that you seem, they look and they seem successful. I'm sure there's things that they just could not accomplish, and maybe they didn't accomplish that and moved on to what now you look at as successful for them.
Right. Right.
I heard there's a lot of stories out here like that, where it's like, I wanted to be this, but that didn't work out. And once I chose this route, all of a sudden now things are working out for me. It's possible.
So you came up, as a B-boy in Jersey, New York, and then you came down into making a huge name in Philly as well too. So what were the struggles, coming up in your era to get to the level where you're at now?
I think, well, straight off the bat, the beginning was some of the toughest times, because you're young, you're unaware of what's going on. You're not on your own. I am not getting money from my mother. I need to get around. There's just so many obstacles and then all you want to do is go to the Bronx. You know what I mean? I think financial was a major part, and it still plays a part in my lifestyle today, to whereas I have to really think about how to play my cards, right? I have to budget and finance in a different way just so I can keep going, Certain things I realized along the way, I had to make sacrifices with things. But it's all a learning experience, and it's all a part of it. Moving around like that too also was a bit difficult, because it's like, here I am kind of always getting introduced to new people. Again, prior to the internet, like we said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people now, if you hear about them, you probably seen them a million times, but never seen them in person.
Right.
You know, back in the days, if your name was ringing bells or making a commotion, you probably heard about the person, but you never seen them yet.
Never seen them, right?
You know, so in the dance community, we do know of certain people, but sometimes we don't even get to meet them. You know, when I started moving around, especially at that time without the internet, it was almost like, again, starting over again, unless people were dancing in the mid 90s. When I met most of the B-boys in Philly in the early 2000s, we didn't know each other. I knew Hussein because Hussein was my generation, you know, like certain people, right? But then the rest of everybody I didn't know. So it was like, here we go again, proving ourselves, you know, showing up, but that's also part of what I love about hip hop. Like, I think that's also helped me to, this whole show and prove sort of mentality is what really helped me learn how to take on those obstacles, you know, and show up every time and get knocked down and stand back up again, get knocked down, stand back up again, you know. So yeah, that's just a couple of things, man. But there's a majority thing. I went to school also, like, you know, for most of the B-boys I knew, they didn't want to go to school. A lot of them had the opportunities. They didn't want to go. They also thought, for what? What am I going to go to school for?
Right.
I'm already doing what I want to do, you know?
Right.
I was interested in computers. I was interested in what technology was doing. So that's why I went to school. And that was a struggle, man. Trying to dance and be a full-time student was no joke.
Right.
You know? So I think people should have credit who go to school and still try to maintain a hobby or an interest.
Right. There's a scripture, I think in the book of Ecclesiastes I was reading, King Solomon said, you know, basically I'm paraphrasing, but he said, never pretty much put your eggs in one basket. It's wise to always invest in many ventures.
Absolutely.
And you know, and I take that as in not just money, but you know, your learning and your knowledge, invest into your mind to get to that next level. And I think many times we hold ourselves back because once we find that thing that we love and we enjoy, we just want to do just that.
Only.
That's it. Like, I'm not doing nothing else the rest of my life. And I've been there. Like, I'm like, you know what? I done found, Mom, I'm good. Like, I'm not going to be an architect. Like, no, forget that. You know what I'm saying? But
no, yeah, absolutely.
But it's like, you know, I look at it now and I'm like, man, what if I did get that degree when I was 24?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what if I did that? What if I put forth the work in to get that degree and still was able to manage and be a dancer at the same time and doing what I love to do? I think, like, many times it just comes with, you know, maturity, and people just buckling down. Like, we don't want to balance. Like, we want to stay unbalanced. And I say that strongly because you putting all the weight on one thing and you counting on this one thing. Whereas in you, for example, you dance, yes, that's what you love to do, but you also went ahead and got an education at the same time, you know what I'm saying? And many dancers, they fall into that trap where, you know, what if, like, what happens if you get hurt, God forbid?
Right, which is something you should think about. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? There's a dude named Jamal King. I'm gonna have him on the podcast. And he's called the 9 to 5 Millionaire on Instagram, right? And he invests in real estate. Now, this dude was a Chicago police officer for 20 years and became a millionaire while being a police officer. So once again, here we have a different scenario of someone who's a police officer. Let's say that he's a B-boy, right? But invested his money into real estate And what he did is he said, okay, I need a building for every bill that I got.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
that sounds crazy, right? Like, I need to own a building for every bill that I have. So this building is going to take care of my rent. This building is going to take care of my car note. This building is going to take care of my phone. This building is going to take care. And it's genius.
Mm-hmm.
People think that it's impossible, but it's only impossible if you don't put in the work.
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can go ahead and add on to that.
Yeah, and you know he put in the work because, like you said, he had a 9-to-5.
Right.
And it's not like he was doing that while he was on his 9-to-5. He did it when he came home.
Right. Right.
You know, so there's lots of time. You know, if you can think about it in that way. But yeah, staying involved and school is something that also I believe is possibly not for everybody, right? And it's like when I meet dancers who say, "Oh, man, I really wish I went to school," or some of them might say, "Well, I couldn't afford going to school, you know, but I wish I learned how to do such and such." And I said, "Well, okay, how'd you learn how to dance?" There you go. So why can't you do this other thing in the similar fashion?
Right.
You know?
Facts. Facts.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways, man. There's information now too of all times in life to get and find and learn. You can do that at your fingertips now, you know? I mean, I learned music theory over my phone.
Wow.
You know, that's not something that was taught to me in school.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's like certain things that you just have to set your mind to doing it and you can do it. And whether you do that in school or not, I think school is a great opportunity in terms of meeting and networking and lots of things, but so is also just knowledge, period. So whether you're going to a institution to learn it or going to one person or going to something.com, you know, you do what you got to do. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, it's possible.
It goes back to that old saying, it's more than one way to skin a cat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
True.
Yeah, man. So now we've gone through, the journey of you being a B-boy, the journey of you being a student, and you marrying the two pretty much together and investing your time into different things. Now you've done a dope art show that you have displayed a little bit of it on Instagram. So what made you? Because you're not just a dancer or whatever. You graph as well too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you've taken, your graphing to another level as well. So if you can like just elaborate a little bit on your art and where do you see that going?
I think a lot of it is again my curiosity, studying my craft and knowing who the players were, knowing the history, you know. So when I created the art show, that's my interpretation of what I know from the Lower East Side in the early 80s, which is Basquiat, Keith Haring, Madonna, you know, the art scene in New York City, which merged basically this idea of street art as high art, you know. That stuck with me for years, ever since I started reading, seeing pictures about that time era and those people. I said, wow, this is it. I love this, you know. And it kind of like was a fad. It like just came and went, similar to how breaking was. It just came and went, and you're sitting there going, man, this is the most incredible form of art. There's no way it's just gone, like, you know. So you know, learning about the writers who were now painting instead of on trains on canvas, right? Learning about the musicians, and they were getting into synthesizers and all this stuff, right? B-boys who were now painting their clothes for fashion, etc., right? All these things is the, you know, embodiment of just the culture in general. And when I want to do what I want to do now is, first of all, see where those ideas can take me even further. So the art show is the homage to that time era, but the work that I'm doing is the futurist lens of what I think that was and where I think it could go, you know? So for example, when I created the chair, that's an industrial design piece, right? And what it is basically a graffiti letter kind of extruded off the wall and just placed right in front of you. And then now it also has a function, right? So for one, I built it. It's a physical form of something that's usually on a wall as a two-dimensional art piece. Now, instead of not only sculpting it, I gave it a function. So I'm already now 3 steps ahead, right? In terms of thinking, because I don't just want it to be an art piece now. Now I want it to be a design, a functionable design. And if you study the history of writing and graffiti, you would know that these guys had, they'd used the same type of knowledge that an architecture would use to build, right? They would even call their letter forms letter structures. They had the mentality of building in their mind years ago. They just never physically did it. They did it on paper. They did it on the wall. The next step would be then to actually build it. With the same knowledge that you would on paper. That's where it starts to begin with, you know? The minute you do the math on one line, you create the math for the rest of the image. Next thing you know, you can physically create this thing, you know? You manifested it once it's on paper anyway.
So basically, you just laid out how a person can create almost anything. And it doesn't really even matter like what that is. Like they have the ability.
If it's a thought, it's already there. If it's a thought, the thing is, like, the difference between thought, for example, and vision, right? When you have a vision, it's only a vision unless people can see it. Then you can consider it a vision. If it's a thought, it's in your mind. You have to manifest it in some sort of way. The best way to do that, in my understanding, is to just make it a physical thing, and that would be to draw it or to write it. That's where it starts. That's such a powerful thing, and I don't think we think about it enough on that level, because if you think about it, it comes from here. You manifest it by physically putting that out there. Now someone else can see it. So now whatever you had here, you're putting that image in their mind. And it goes on further. That's so powerful. I mean, it's amazing, man. And knowing that, I have things, man, that I could show you that's crazy. You know, that I'm hoping to, you know, eventually just pass these ideas on to people that I know can carry them out, you know, even after my lifetime, I think. So yeah, it's crazy. And it's all based around hip hop thought, theory, philosophy, culture. You know? Yeah.
So in a sense, to sum it up, we can just honestly say hip hop has truly changed the world in so many different ways.
100. What I've been writing a lot lately, and the thing is too, when we think about, for example, some of the biggest artistic movements in the world has ever seen, hip hop is probably the biggest at this point, right? Because of technology and media, I would say, for sure. But it's undeniable. It's the Renaissance is an important period, but hip hop is in a period of its own. And I think it's important for people to recognize that now. And that goes back to the education and the school work that I'm trying to do, to show that, like, this is huge. This is way bigger than people ever imagined it to be. And it's not a fad. It may have surfaced in the 70s and 80s, but hey, we still doing this, man. We in the Olympics now.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wow,
and it's just only gonna get bigger, you know. So yeah.
So to the person that, you know, that needs that little bit of encouragement, you know, I know we touched on it a little bit more, but if you had one thing to say to them you know, that could help them. And one word could change a person's life. You know what I'm saying? In your experiences in life, what would you say to that individual that's just looking for that one thing?
Man, hard to sum it up in a one word type thing, right?
You can elaborate a little bit more if you want. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna really try on that. Like, try to really get it down to one word, though, because that's interesting, man. But I would say, to look around. I would say look around. Okay. Look around. Right. And question everything you see.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it's important. And it's okay to be objective even with your own. Yeah.
Right. That's deep.
That was more than one word, but
that's cool though.
Yeah.
And because more questions create more answers.
Right. Yeah.
So it's important to ask the questions, especially if we don't understand or if we're confused about something, because we don't come into this world knowing everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, why is the grass green? Like, you know
what if I told you it wasn't? You know,
right.
Even though you're looking at it and it looks green, what if I told you it wasn't?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Why does it say that the clock is 12 when is it really 12?
Right.
In some parts of the world, it's not 12. Like,
right. That's your 12 is not my 12.
There it
Just
is.
like when we had to make this call, we had to synchronize.
Right. We gotta bring our times together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Word up, man. Everybody, yo, give it up for Why Not. You know what I'm saying? B-Boy, Why Not? Rocksteady.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on to this show, brother. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do this again because this was deep. You know what I'm saying? We gonna
absolutely
the next time I'm gonna have you in studio, which is
perfect.
In my house.
Yeah, nice. On the couch.
On the couch, chilling, you know what I'm saying? So nice. We're gonna do this. Everybody, if you like this podcast, if you love this podcast, make sure you click that bell, subscribe to this channel, share it with a family member, share it with a friend, share it with your cousin, with your girlfriend, anybody. You know, and go ahead and support the podcast. You can also donate to this podcast on our Anchor page, which is going to be in the description below. Why not? Where can they find you at?
I'm on Instagram, Why Notism, YNOTISM. I also have a website, www.whynotism.com. Yeah, pretty much just that. I had to like really simplify with the social media stuff because it was a lot of time trying to maintain all that. So I keep it on Instagram now, and my website I update from time to time just to show some of my work. You know.
Dope. Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
So go ahead and follow Why Not. His Instagram handle will be in the description below. Go ahead, hit him up and get some more knowledge, man. You know what I'm saying? This is Kenny Clutch on the Clutchvision podcast. Until the next time, remember, when we change the mind, we change the game. Peace.